Thank you, and thank you all for being here. It's good to see you again. I want to focus today a little bit about the recruiting and the recruiting goals and really what I'm seeing in my district, and I'm hearing from my district. As you know, General Brown, I think it was last year, you and I had a conversation about we're not meeting our recruiting goals, and some of our positions didn't get filled. So I took that to heart, and I went back and did a little research and started talking to some of the people in my district. How far are we off on the Air Force recruiting goal? How far was it? Still around 15,000?
No, it's about 10%. So on the active side, it's about 2,500 or so, a little higher on the Guard and Reserve. I would say part of the challenge with the Guard and Reserve is because our retention is really good on the active side right now, about 90% plus or minus on the officer and enlisted, which means you don't have airmen leaving the active force going into the Guard and Reserve. And so we've made some changes in reducing the barrier to entry with not impacting the standards. And part of the other aspect is just the familiarity with military service.
And can you share and talk a little bit about what steps that y'all are using to boost the recruiting efforts?
Sure. The first thing I would highlight is I often say that young people only aspire to be what they see. And if they never see our United States Air Force, they are not inclined to grow up to join the United States Air Force. And so part of that is how do we better engage in our communities? I gave a letter to all of our wing commanders about 2 months ago to tell them to get into the communities and open up their bases and get re-engaged. I would say the same thing with our recruiters to get them back into the high schools now that we've gotten past COVID. And this is where, for members, as you go back to your community, in some cases, encouraging them to open up the high schools. We do have good opportunities in some places. Some places it's a little bit more challenging. But I think we're making progress based on some changes we made, and we're seeing some of that happen throughout the course of the past several months.
You're seeing numbers go up?
We are. We did some things to change some policies that were a bit more restrictive than the other services, and that's helped us to increase our numbers. And because originally we were about 15%, and we're down. We're going to be probably less than 10% by the time we get to the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. As I talk to the people in my district, as I talk to the people in the community, and as I've done some research, in fact, Heritage Foundation did a study, and nearly 70% of the active duty service members have witnessed really a politicization of the military. And whether we think it's a problem, we feel that it's the study and the data that Heritage did, and I can give that to you, shows that the military being political is just, it's not positive. And it hurts. It hurts morale. It hurts pride. And I talk to men and women and families and in my district, and they feel that they lost a sense of pride. They feel like the woke agenda isn't helping. We talk too much about diversity, equity, and inclusion when I'm all for diversity, equity, inclusion, but I think the most diverse and equity and inclusive that we can be is for the individual. And from what I've heard and what I've seen is we've gone from the individual to a small percentage of folks that we focus on. And I have in front of me, the slides on the diversity training and the equity and the inclusion training. How much money and time do we really spend on that? Can we get a better sense to help educate everyone?
I can provide you, exact information for the record, but I will tell you, most of our training, and most of our focus is on the readiness of the force. And part of that readiness of the force is to ensure that we're building cohesive teams, and part of those cohesive teams is to get to know our airmen to left and our right.
And I appreciate that. And one of the things it talks about in one of your slides is not to recognize people as moms and dads. I mean, as a mother, I take a little bit of offense to that. It also talks about not using the word terrorist. Can you explain why we wouldn't use the word terrorist and mom and dad? I think you got to get that message out, because I think a lot of people are really frustrated and they feel like we're polarizing as opposed to coming together.
What I would tell you is that what I perceive is we're misreading some of the aspects of the things we're trying to do as we move the Air Force forward, and then we look at how we build cohesive teams. And so part of the building the cohesive teams is getting to know our airmen. And
Gentleman's time's expired. Here, our gentle lady's time is
Thank you.
expired.
Hey, before you click on the next video, if y'all could do me a big favor and hit that like button. The algorithm loves it, and so do I, because it helps promote these videos and get the message out about what our government has been doing. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications, because every time I put out a video, you want to know about it, right? Thanks again, and have a good one. See you on the next one. Peace.